This is frustrating, but anyway. Guys, welcome to the committee meeting for Velero, and we probably have some important maintainers, missing from this meeting due to the time zone change. So we're gonna make sure we record this meeting because we're gonna discuss the 110 plan in this meeting. So first, as for the update, Ming, you want to say anything?
Yeah, through cooperation of our team college, we've done several rounds of manual tests in Velero 190, and official plugins have GA'd in June 23rd on the work of open source developers. The new version include CS enhancement and refactoring of controller illustrators, and welcome to use it. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. So thanks, Ming, and everyone for the contribution in the Velero 1.9. So the biggest change in 1.9 is we're gonna provide official support for the CSI plugin for AKS and EKS. And in addition to that, there are several interesting enhancements to the Velero, like the existing resource policy and the resource status flag, etc. Yes, thanks for everyone in the community for the support and contribution. From my part, in addition to the GA effort with the team, I've been doing the 110 plan and reviewing the design for Copia integration. We're gonna talk about the 110 plan later, like how we execute and the key milestones. Yunhui.
Yes, I have continued the work on the Copia integration design and make some changes, and also I have to investigate some issues. Actually, the V10 or 1.10 issues, cardinal issues. Yeah, that's it.
Wenkai.
Yeah, I'm reviewing the backup item action reflecting PR, and I think this is a part of the work to support the plugin version, and I have added 2 comments, and I also do some issues in execution for the Copia integration work. Just sit here from my side.
Oh, okay. Currently, I'm working on migration into in-test, and it's caught up by some other work, and I will keep on working it later. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna quickly move to the discussion topic. First thing, I'm gonna discuss the 110 plan. So we've been have a few rounds of internal discussion. So for 110, we're gonna execute a little differently from a previous 1.9 or 1.8. I'm not gonna write the big table to include all the planned issues. We're gonna give more flexibility in the execution. We're gonna make sure the major features are delivered, and after that, there are a few candidates. We're gonna keep watching them and making adjustment to the plans until the feature free state, which is planned at end of August. I will double check with other maintainers around the state. Before the state, we may add new issues or to this milestone of 110 and potentially may move something out. But after that date, we're gonna focus on what's in this 110 milestone. We're gonna use this one as a single source of truth as for what we're gonna deliver in 110. So you won't see that issue list in this roadmap. Instead, you see a few items. So for 110, the major feature we're gonna deliver, the anchor feature, is a Copia integration. We have been discussing around the design for a while, but we figured because we wanna support both Rustic and Copia for a few versions, so the refactor work and the upgrading process is tricky. We feel there are some potential issues. We still need a bit more investigation, but we've made the decision that we want to deliver this Copia integration. So without big change, we're gonna make sure that the end-to-end of Copia integration is delivered before the FC. So in addition to that, there's the new versions of plugins being driven by Fong and Scott. There is a PR by Fong to do the initial refactor, as Wang Kai mentioned, and we're gonna double check with Fong and Scott like what they plan to add into 110 for the new versions of plugins. I know Fong is planning to add a new version of backup item action, and Scott mentioned he wanted to add a new version of I think it's restore item action plugin, but we'll double check with them. And in addition to that, I know Scott has been submitting. Oh, it's good. I'm gonna change the name later. I saw Scott has submitted a PR to add credentials for VSL. We're gonna check with the design and see if Scott wanna have that tracked in 110 plan. And in addition to that, there is the important design work, which is the data mover. We're gonna continue reviewing the PR for Shubang, and per discussion with Dylan and Shubang, we're gonna also try to do some POC to make sure that the generic data mover workflow work for the major CSI drivers. In our case from VMware, we're gonna make sure that works for vSphere. We know that the generic code path may not be very efficient or for a vSphere. So the data moving workflow may be slow, but we don't want to make sure that it works. So with that, we're gonna deliver a workflow that works for all the major CSI drivers. And in addition to that, Dylan also mentioned they wanna make some progress in concurrent backup and restore as the groundwork for the multi-tenancy support. So since Dylan and Scott or Shubang is not there, we're gonna check with them later. And in addition to that, we're gonna continue our plan to refactor the controllers in Velero. We have been covering more than half of the controllers, so we're gonna handle the rest of them, including the backup sync controller, DC controller, and etc. But I want to point out that we will treat backup and restore controller as opportunistic, because in the refactor of Copia, there are expect to be a lot of change in these controllers. We don't want to have a lot of code conflict, but if time permits and we're in good condition, it's possible that we also handle the refactor for these two controllers. And last but not least, we're gonna continue enhancing our test, as Danfeng already mentioned, and she's already started the work. We're gonna add a migration test to end-to-end test suite. We're gonna automatically test the migration scenario where you do backup in one cluster and do restore in the other. That will save us a lot of manual testing effort, hopefully in the future releases. And again, all these works I mentioned, I have put in the one-time milestone, which is a single source of truth for what we're gonna deliver. And there is still 110 candidates. So the idea is that if we think there are more time to handle additional issues, we're gonna move these issues, some of them into the 110 milestone before the feature freeze date. Also, we also allow there are new proposed features that we're gonna put in the 110 before this feature freeze. But after that, we're gonna focus on what's in the milestone. Okay. So do we have any question regarding the 110 roadmap and the plan? Okay. So I'm gonna move to the next item. Yeah, I want to nominate Yonghui as a maintainer of Velero. Yonghui has been doing a lot of great work in Velero, and he really educated the team a lot about this with his rich experience in the BR area of the industry. So I want to nominate Yonghui as a maintainer so he can have higher privilege to adding labels and triaging issues, changing assignees, etc. I'm gonna double check with Scott Shubang, Dylan, and other maintainers in the channel. So yeah, if there's no disagreement, I'll write up a PR. Yonghui, I think you can be really briefly talking about the change in Copia integration design, because we need to sync with other folks, via the channel anyway.
Oh yes, there are.
Shall I stop? Shall I stop sharing?
Oh yes, I will share.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. This stage we have continued to discuss with different parties and to collect the requirements. So, and based on that, we have made some significant changes. Actually, the change is not about on the higher level, actually on the architecture or on the higher workflow level or on the interface level. The changes actually happened on the operational level, detailed operation level. One of the changes is like as a requirement, some parts just want to restore the old data that backed up by reactive, even under the Copia path or under the new path. So that means we need to allow users to specify the path at the the backup or restore level. Actually, only on the restore level, because there is no requirement for backup. That means we need to have a way to allow users to specify the path for each of the restore. So that is a requirement that underlying that will require all our modules or controllers to support the dynamic switch. How do we do that? And first of all, we need to add some values or options to identify the path. And the first one is we need to add something like uploader type, and as a parameter of the Velero server. This one is decided at the time of the installation, and this means the default. It indicates the default path when creating a new backup. And also we will add the same value upload type into the pod volume backup and resolve PR, and also in the backup repository, backup resource CR, and also in the backup repository CR. And merely the name in the backup repository CR is repository type, but it means the same thing. And how do we do that? How do we use these values to fulfill the dynamic switch? Let's take overall backup and resolve workflow, for example. Firstly, when user create a new backup, and the backup controller will check the uploaded parameter from the Velero server, because the controller is running inside the Velero server. So it gets the static value that decided at the installation time. For example, let's say the current value is REST. So it will continue to create the other two CRs, the pod volume backup CRs and the backup repository CR, and set the same value into these two CRs. So these two CRs are created with the value of REST. And then the backup repository controller sees the newly created backup repository CR, and it will get that the current path is decided by the repository type is REST. So it will be able to set its internal legacy value. So at this time, the legacy value is false. It means the REST. Legacy is true. It means REST, right? So the backup repository controller will go into the REST way, just following this diagram, and finally create the REST command line. And similarly, when the pod volume backup controller sees the newly created pod volume backup CR, it will get the same value of the upload type from the CR, and then decide its value, legacy value to true, and follow the same workflow here to create the backup REST command line. And when user want to restore from the backup, and here very importantly, the restore doesn't check the upload type from the Velero server. That is the static value. It doesn't check this. It will check from the backup from which it is going to restore. It means actually there is no upload type value inside the backup CR directly, but it can get the pod volume backup CR from the backup CR and then get its value. So in this case, the value is REST. So it is going to create the pod volume resource CR and backup report CR with the uploader type value of REST. And then everything goes similarly with the backup repository and the pod volume restore controller. And so their path could be decided. And then for another time, the user may want to change the path by reinstall Velero, and this time the upload type specified to Velero server is Copia. And then when user create a new backup, the upload type is Copia, and it will create the two CRs with the value of Copia, and where everything goes similarly to the backup repository and pod volume backup controller with Copia. And now this time when user say, I don't want to restore from the second backup, I want to restore from the first backup that is created by REST. It is also okay, because the same thing, the result controller gets the value from the backup, or actually from the pod volume backup CR, and that value is REST. So everything goes with the REST path. Conclusively, we have one static value that decided by the installation that acts the default value when creating new backup. only that value is static. And for other cases, everything is driven dynamically, or every for other cases, every path selection is driven by the path values inside the CRs, not by this static value. So in that way, we will be able to implement the dynamic switch. That's it for the path switch. And,
I have a small comment, Yonghui. So I get that in some way you're gonna try to match the uploader type to the repository type in the controller, right? Because
we have removed that because we want to change to the dynamic switch, not a static switch. So if we go with the static switch, we need to, to have the controller to check the CR, check the CR's type, so that it make sure that it is on the it is processing or handling the correct CR. But for
no,
the dynamic
but we
switch,
still, I think we still need to check sometimes, because when you in the pod volume BR controller, for example, you need to get the information of the repository so that you can trigger Copia or RESIC to, for example, upload the data to the repository.
Yes, it will check like here.
Yeah.
And here, it
Yeah.
will check
Yeah.
the value.
Yeah, but why? So in that case, why we use different name for the attribute?
Because here we call it we call the CR like a pod volume backup CR. So it's something like a backupper or restorer or uploader, right? And here we call it a repository CR. So in repository CR, it's very, I think it's a little bit weird that we have something called the uploader type, because as you can see here, and we have more usage for this repository type in future. And currently, we have only RESIC and Copia. In future, the unified repository may support multiple backup repository or backup storages. So there will be multiple values other than RESIC or Copia. So it's this name means the repository we are going to use for the unified repository.
So is there a case that, so will there be a case that the uploader type is A, but he writes to the repository type B? Will that happen?
Yeah, that will happen in future. So currently, since there are only two values for both the uploader and the repository, so it's byte-wide, right? So when we choose the Copia uploader, it implies that it will choose the Copia repository, because it cannot choose the RESIC repository, right? So, but it doesn't mean that the Copia uploader must bound to the same Copia repository. So we have two values, and here in the repository we have different names.
I'm not sure if that's correct. I think we can discuss offline. I get the high level idea, because in the design, you have two components, like the repository part and uploader part. So in that sense, it may make sense you add two types, but you're thinking about matching. I'm not sure. If we go this way, we're gonna add more attribute into the pod volume BR CRs so that it can find the right type of repository. But yeah, we can discuss offline, I think, later.
Let's discuss offline. Actually, here I just add one more thing, like actually for the pod volume backup controller, it doesn't need to check the repository or the backup repositories repository type value. It just need to check the uploader type value from its pod volume backup CR. So maybe things is not that that complex, but let's discuss later offline. That is not deciding or not very important for the or changing thing for the currency. workflow. Yeah. That is a path switch and dynamic switch. And one thing we want to add is like I want to add is like this is based on one requirement from some other part. It's not something that we want to so we have to do the dynamic switch. And for the Velero CR name, it's the same thing. We didn't change the principle that we want to change the name of the rescue repository to a more generic one like backup repository. So, and the rules is not changed either. Like the new controllers or the controller in the new release will watch the CR with the new name only. The CRs with the old name will be ignored. So here I just add some details about why we don't have problem from either the repository side and from the backup or restore workflow side. We can check this offline. If there is any question, we can leave comments. And the story configuration is something that I knew, but actually it's not a new part in the design. Just we make something more clear. For the I mean it is necessary, so we just make it clear. So like for different backup storage, we need very different parameter to connect to it. For example, the parameter to connect to a S3 compatible storage will be quite different from the ones to connect to an NFS storage, right? So actually, at present, REST is also have this kind of parameters in the backup repository, post-mortem backup, and the post-mortem resource CRs, but the parameters are formatted into a single string. We call it a repo identifier, but that string is it is good enough to call a rescue command line, but it is very limited and it is not very easy to extend. So we want to change this string formatted value into a structure. And everything is very clear to understand. Actually, no significant change in the meanings. Like for example, we have a provider to indicate the provider of the storage, and we have some parameters for connecting to this storage. So even though for way 1.10 we will not support we have no immediate requirement to support NFS, but we think it is enough to have this structure to support NFS in future.
Oh, yeah, I'm just a little confused. Do we need to add all those storage config parameters in the pod volume backup and restore CRs, or we just add them to the backup repository CR and reference the repository ID in the pod volume backup and restore CR?
I'm not sure if it is okay for the later one you mentioned, because at present it is run this way. That is, we have all this repo identifier in this repo identifier on those CRs. So I'm not sure right now, but if we want, we can do more investigation on that.
Yeah. I mean, from the design point of view, it seems it's a redundant information, right? It seems just a reference to the IDs, Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
but coincidentally, I mean, in REST repository, everything was put in the ID. Yeah. So
yeah, actually, originally this information this information is not from, it's not originated from this 3CR. It originated from the BSL, right? Backup storage location, and it's formatted into this string and put into this 3CRs. So of course we have three versions of the redundant the informations from the BSL and from this CR. Yeah,
Correct.
we can do some reflect also, but we will not cover this in this CR. I'm sorry, in this PR, and if we want to, we can do along with the change. Okay. Installation, there's no special changes, and upgrade. Actually, it is also the things mentioned here is also necessary. We just want to put it out into this PR so that we don't ignore them when during our development. So it's quite important because first of all, we want to change the upload type value of the Velero server during installation. That is also true for upgrade, right? So during upgrade, the same as installation, we need to change the Velero server's upload type value by specifying this flag. But currently, I don't think for either the CLI installation and the Helm chart installation, we have the way to change the Velero server's command line, because I think currently if the Velero server is there, it will do nothing. So we will need to apply the change to Velero server for both the CLI and the Helm chart installation. And also, we want to add some labels to the Velero server pod so that there is an easy way to query the current path.
Yeah,
and
but I just want to point out for the in-place upgrade, where you don't need to uninstall Velero. I think we don't need to introduce new sub command to CLI to support that, but we need to write documentation, because currently, if you check the official website, it suggests users use kubectl to upgrade, to bump up the image version. So I think we need to provide the same user experience, but just a little bit more complicated, because users are expected to execute more command or add more parameter to kubectl so that he can finish this upgrade.
Okay, so it's like, but what about the Helm chart? So for the in-place upgrade,
the Helm chart, in the case of Helm chart, I believe Helm will handle that for you. Okay.
So it's like we will not use the CLI for the in-place upgrade. So we will use kubectl and
I suggest you take a look at the official website. There is an upgrade to the latest version section, and you understand what's the flow is.
Yeah, I recall that, and I will modify it here. Yes, I will. And another thing is we also change the name REST daemon set to Velero node agent, and we have a comment discussed with Scott and with Daniel, and we also checked with the other teams, and this one is okay. But the same thing, we need to apply this name change after the upgrade.
Yeah, I see that will be very tricky.
Sorry, what kind of?
I mean, renaming this to the Velero node agent will be very tricky, because we also need to add a label to that pod to explicitly tell user the the uploader type. I don't think it needs uploader type, but yeah, we'll see.
And here CLI actually it is not something that new, but we just want to mention it obviously in this PR that we have some changes in the Velero CLI. For example, the Velero backup described CLI need to at least indicate the current path for the backup, and the same thing for restore. And another very important one is the Velero REST repo guide. I think here we at least need to output all the repositories if both the REST repository and and unified repository exists at the same time. And also,
I think I'm not sure the restore. I mean the backup currently in the. I think we only need to handle that in the dash with the when the detail flag is specified, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
because currently without the detail you don't tell if it's RESIC based. I'll double check.
I agree with this. I agree. Yeah, so that is for the repo guide, and for the output, we need to output all the types of the repositories, and also I think its name we need also to change, right? Because we want to make a more generic one. I'm not sure, but for something like Velero repo guide, I'm not sure. Let's just leave comments on the name.
Yeah, I mean that RESIC subcommand is confusing. Maybe we need some other, or maybe just use repo. We may decide later and check with other maintainers.
Yeah, let's leave comments on this. Another naming thing. Yes, and finally, we want to mention that Velero backup grid will not have to leave any option to specify the path because we don't have any requirement. But it doesn't mean that we don't support it from the underlying controller. Actually, with the dynamic switch, the underlying controllers or modules are very flexible. So it is flexible enough to support any command, to support any up level command for a dynamic switch or dynamically specify the path. But we don't want to make all the things happen for all the commands. That will that will release many of the sorry, that's like to make cases simpler, right? That's it. I think that's all for the changes, and currently we are still something still under the discussion, so we may make some more changes in future, but this is what they are like now, and we can leave any comment here if there's any questions or suggestions. Okay.
Okay. So I see Shubang, you're joining. There are a few items related to Red Hat. I wanna follow up since Dylan or Scott is not here.
Yeah, sure. What's up? What do you need?
You stop sharing.
Okay.
Let me share again. So I have drafted this 110 roadmap, and I explained how we're gonna execute. So you can watch the video, Shubham. But there are a few items. The new versions of plugins, I think Fong and Scott have been working on that for a while. And please follow up with Scott, like what new version of plugin he wanna implement, and if that's needed, please ask him to write up an issue and put in the 110 milestone. We have two levels, like we put issue in the 110 milestone, it means we need to handle them before the FC of 110. If there are issues left in this milestone, very likely we will not FC. And there is the 110 candidate label we added to the issue.
Okay.
Which means that's a lower priority, but we think it's they are opportunistic. The idea is that before the feature free state, we are making adjustment to the plan, but after that, we will remove all those 110 candidate labels. So either they will be part of milestone or they will be pushed to other releases.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. So the one thing I want to follow up with, I wish you help to follow up with the plugins. The other one is Scott has opened a PR to add credential to the VSL. Let's check with him if he wants that in 110. if it is do the same thing.
Yeah.
And the design work, I'm sorry that we've been focusing on the 1.9 delivery, and your PR has been there for a while, and we're gonna continue discussing on that. And that's a very high level, high priority work we plan for 1.10. We want to have a concrete design for the data mover in 1.10 so we can execute in 1.11. And I also discussed with Dylan. He mentioned that there may be some groundwork we can merge into main into 1.10, and we'll see.
Yeah. So regarding the data mover design, we are working on a new plugin type design which will enable async processes. So there will be a PR coming up, so that we'll get that in place first, and then we can use async processes to trigger data and stuff. That's
so expect there are more discussion more closely between you guys and us.
Yeah,
we're gonna make sure that we all agree on the data more and it doesn't break the
totally agree, Daniel. I'll just post a PR in this week, so you guys can take a look at that design. It will be great.
Yeah, thank you. And as for Dylan add a few issues saying that Red Hat is more interested in doing that. I'm not sure if he has discussed with you or Scott. He want to work on multi-tenancy and concurrent backup and restore. And I had the offline discussion with Dylan, and we decided that we can only focus on one of them, and we chose the concurrent backup and restore. But I marked that as P1 because I don't think that's necessarily a blocker for 1.10. But if you have resources from Red Hat to initiate some discussion, we are happy to continue with that, because that's the groundwork for the multi-tenancy. And
okay, so basically to sum up, you want inputs regarding 1.10 milestones for VSL credentials, plugin versioning, and multi-tenancy support, right?
I don't want to postpone these guys in
those
1.10.
will most probably be, we want those to be in 1.10, but I'll get back to you on multi-tenancy stuff.
Yeah. Let me explain a little bit, because I think that's happening earlier, a discussion between Eleanor and Dylan.
Okay.
So I think Dylan added a few, added this label to a few issues. Yeah. So the CSI, GA, and data movement, they're essentially the same thing. And plugin versioning, the one I've been talking about. I think what we have some disagreement between I and Dylan are these two. I don't think we have enough bandwidth to handle both of them. So I propose we can only start working on one of them. So Dylan think they are intertwined, but later we decided maybe we should focus on this one. And you can double check with Dylan. If he doesn't care, I'm okay. We move this out to 1.10. But if he think it's important, I think you guys can start initiate some effort to investigation.
I get that. So we'll let you know if we'll add some resources to work on multi-tenancy for 1.10.
Yeah. So do you have any concern about the time of the community meeting? Is that okay for you, all of you, I mean, from Red Hat?
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to attend 8 p.m. meetings. It would be really great if you guys could also attend the North America time meetings sometimes, because
so I think we're gonna have a longer discussion, but in order to contain the guys from West Coast, the time is difficult for us, but we are okay to attend 8 p.m. meetings. So if you're okay to attend the meeting in the early morning, maybe we can adjust the meeting, move it a little bit to a few hours earlier so that we can have a better chance.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll just ask around what's the input and I'll let you know about the meeting timing.
Okay. Yeah. But this time is usually it's difficult for all of you, right? Because previously, I mean, Dylan and Scott often show up in the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, is that because there is a time change in the States or?
Yeah, initially it was not daylight saving times, right? So it was 7 o'clock. Now it's 8. so it's a little late now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other guy? Yun Chen, please also check with Fong like what he thinks. And we're gonna discuss in this Slack about you know, if we can make it in a new time for the community meeting.
Yeah, totally. That would be great. Yeah, let's do that.
Because from in West Coast, so I think least.
He's in West Coast. Okay, so he should be able to join this one, right? It should be supposed to be 5 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
The red hat is on East Coast. So
yes. Yeah, it's really tricky.
Cool. We can sync up on Slack for this.
Yes. But for this one, because we're gonna go through the 110 roadmap, so I was thinking you guys are coming, but no one shows up. It's a little strange. But
sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll be more actively, talking about the community meeting time to make sure you guys can join. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Does anyone want to mention anything?
I have a question for Shubham. And so when you say the asynchronous plugin, is it the same thing for the concurrent backup and restore?
If you repeat, your
Yeah,
voice is
Yonghui,
really
I think
low.
your voice is very your voice is very low. So
Okay,
can you?
what about now?
Yeah, it's better.
I'm not sure. I have this question is actually for Shubham. And when we say the asynchronous plugin, it is just for the concurrent backup and restore.
No, it's for data more.
Yeah, it's for data more. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So basically, to give you an idea, currently, if you trigger any plugin process in backup restore workflow, right, you have to block on the plugins. So if you see the CSI plugin, we block on it, right? So so in order to remove that dependency, we are coming up with a new plugin type, which will help kick off the async plugin processes and let the backup restore workflow continue, not block on it. Something like
okay.
that.
But there are different way of doing that. I see what you want, but I used to think the flow is like we trigger another CR to handle the data movement, and we let the backup mark itself as completed.
Yeah.
So in that case, we don't need this async plugin, right?
But what we are trying to propose is there will be a method with the plugin type, which will enable you to see the status of the process which was triggered. So based on that, you can mark the backup complete, not without checking on the process which you triggered.
I see, but that's yeah. So sorry, this a bit longer than expected, but I wanna you to double check this one.
Okay.
There's something that was merged before I joined this project.
Okay.
Let me check. Upload progress. This one was designed by Dave. I think it served the same purpose, and he already has a lot of PR, a big PR here. I think we had some back and forth, but it's relatively done so that it can handle this upload progress. But I double checked with Dave. He mentioned he may not have enough time to continue working on this one.
Okay.
So there may be a good chance for us to, rethink how we can handle.
Yeah, I think
the upload progress monitoring.
Discuss about this once I get the design PR up, like when you guys have a chance to look through it. And
Shun, since we discussed, you may want to take a special deeper look into this and compare it with Shubham's proposal, and we can make decision.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that's all for today.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night, Shubham. Bye, everyone.
Good day, guys.